Okay, we've relocated to the tactics board this week. We brought it out here where we can really get stuck into it and spread our shoulders. Michael, the big game this weekend is Kilkenny and Limerick. How do you see this game faring out? Like, I would suggest that these days in hurling, teams that are tactically involved, like Kilkenny and like Limerick, they like to isolate a couple of guys inside. Even Cork, I've seen them a couple of weeks ago. They have guys in a triangle formation out here, whatever way you want to do it. And then it's the middle eight is just swamped after that. I see it in Gaelic football, they talk about blanket defences. I think it's now blanket midfields in hurling, and it's Kilkenny are more or less going to mirror that as well. And it's all about who wins most ball in the middle eight.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. It's basically who wins most ball in here and who can get the ball into their attack as quickly as possible. That it's an absolute war zone here in the middle. And whoever can, if you can break even in there, you have a great chance of winning. Just in last year's game, we'll just say this is the Kilkenny defence, shall we say? This is very similar to how it was. There was an awful lot of space, and they will not want that to happen again. Basically, the wing backs, Killian Buckley was taken on a tour of the field here by Kyle Hayes over and back here. They're going to try and park someone here.
But it's the same as the 2016 All-Ireland, and Joey Holden was left absolutely to the wolves in that game as well. We actually have an image here where we can look at how Limerick set up, and you can see they've just got so many players in their own half of the field. And this is what I'm talking about when I say the Limerick blanket midfield. Look at the amount of yellow dots just marking out all the Limerick players in their own half, and that was against Wexford in the first league game this year. And we have another image here as well, which shows how Limerick like to leave huge oceans of space in the attacking half of the field. That's against Tipperary, and I mean, Tipperary competed really well in terms of tackle rate, intensity, all that, but at times just the space killed them at the back, because I don't care how fast you are as a back, if the other opposition has time to look up and pin a ball into the corners, you're just in serious trouble as a back, no matter how fast you are.
Yeah, and it's not even, a lot of the time, they don't even, like Kyle Hayes might take a tiny little glance, but he knows, and Gallan knows, and Graham Mulcahy knows, and they have a march in the defender. And it's very, very difficult, no matter who you are. Like Ollie Canning, any of the best cornerbacks would struggle when that sort of ball is coming in. Last year, I don't know whether Flanagan will be playing Sunday, but last year, he kind of took Pádraig Walsh out around here.
He did the same with James Barry as well.
Yeah, and he tried to do the same with Dottie Burke at different times as well. So by doing that, that created a lot of goal chances and a lot of space for Gallan as well. They had identified Pádraig Walsh probably as Kilkenny's best maybe defender in the full back line. Or obviously you want to try and get him out of there. So it'll be interesting to see, like Hugh Lawler and like Paddy Deegan is probably raw enough at centre back. Like
what
he's played cornerback. Like cornerback is not too bad. You're playing a certain position, you're playing a corner, playing an area here.
And that's your job.
Centre back, like that's why I think someone like Sean Moran does it so well. It's between marking your man, protecting your defender, protecting your halfbacks, protecting your cornerbacks. It's a very, very difficult role. That's why like good centre backs are like, they're not easy come by, because it's such a tough role. Do I follow my man out here or do I not? Very, very tough. And I think on the flip side then, we'd say Declan Hannon is here. Richie Hogan last year tried to drag him out and got a lot of success by bringing him away from the goals. I think that's the type of player Kilkenny will put in on Hannon again, is someone mobile and small that's going to move him around. Now, it might necessarily be Richie Hogan, it could be Martin Keown maybe or someone like that, but that creates a lot of difficulties for here. You want to take the centre back, that's why it's so hard to play there. Take the centre back and make him feel uncomfortable, bring him to areas of the field that he doesn't want to go to.
So you've spent most of your career as a cornerback, I'd say, somewhere in the back. You kind of brought up the idea of touch-tight defending. What do you mean by that in the context of that role? Well,
man marking in hurling now and in football is a bit of a rarity. There's not that many designated man markers. I would say maybe Noel Connors, Conor Gleeson, Waterford, maybe Sean Finn, Limerick. Do Kilkenny have a designated man marker? Maybe
I would say Paul Murphy.
Maybe Paul Murphy. Jackie would have been the one as well. Do Galway have one? Not so sure.
They definitely have options.
They have options, but one guy, because just say Sean Finn was on Conor Whelan last year's All-Ireland final, and it didn't matter where Wheelo went. He was following him around, and that's fine. And it's almost like a tactic that Bill Belichick uses in the NFL. They place a lot of emphasis on their best forward, and if you can beat me with someone else,
fair enough,
grand, no problem. But this is such a thankless job. Like, I've no problem doing it, and I've done it for long enough. Well, I try to do it at least anyway. So you just basically, you're tracking him the whole time. A lot of the time you're ignoring the ball. You're just tracking runs. You're getting to your man. I was actually chatting to someone about it the other day. When you're like 10 yards off your man, we'll say, and the ball is down the far end of the field, the hardest run to make is that 10 yards sometimes because you're so tired. But what they always say is you get to him and then you relax. And when you're man marking, you're literally following him everywhere. Now, it creates isolations for other guys, but there has to be a thing where you trust the majority of the other lads. They're not marking lads that are as good as him.
It's usually on a key man, and if you stop
usually,
him, you would imagine the other forwards are less talented.
Yeah.
I remember I'd say it was under 12 or under 14, and my uncle-in-law, he was manager of the parish league team, and he says to me, because I was going to be cornerback, I want you stuck to him like shit on a blanket, which was an interesting way to put it. There are certain guys that I don't think you'd go touch tight on. So, for example, let's say just from the Dublin Championship, Danny Sutcliffe is obviously an excellent player. Alan McCrabb has been an excellent player for many years as well. And I would find that being touch tight, so right beside him the whole time, annoying him, getting in his face, that works really well with some players. In other players, you might have to actually, because maybe they're not searing pace, and obviously I'm not talking about Sutcliffe there because he's very, very fast, that some players, they just like to float and just juke around the place and do a little sidestep and get away from you, and then they've got a yard to shoot. So some players, I find that you always just give them a yard or two, always try and stay goal side, and if they don't have the pace to beat you, then you can actually kind of just hold them out and limit them.
Yeah, I've never adopted that approach, I'll be honest with you.
Well, that's generally when you're out wing back.
Yeah, it's different when you're out the pitch. A lot of the time with the best forwards, your main objective is just stop him getting the ball in his hand and just spoil him, basically. Spoil the ball, kick it, flick it 20 yards out of your way. And just on the touch tight thing as well, if this is a defender here and this is the forward here, the defender, like that's not touch tight because you're showing him the inside. So just to there, make sure that you're covering off the full back here, you're covering off a bit centre here, and if he does get the ball, he hasn't got an open route to goal basically as well. But it is a dying art, and I don't think that many coaches or managers are placing an unbelievable amount of emphasis on it. But I will say that nobody wants to do it as well. Everyone wants to puck ball. I'll give you a classic example. I couldn't get on the Offaly team one of the years, I can't remember, well there was a couple of years I couldn't get on it. But I couldn't get on it this year because manager said I wasn't hitting enough ball.
Even though you were a man marker?
Yeah. And
counterproductive.
So that was grand. The guy that was in cornerback was hitting a good bit of ball, but his man was getting maybe 3 points a game. So like it's a specific thing for managers. You have to appreciate what a certain maybe fella can do for you as well. There's certain lads can hit ball. I'd say if he can hit ball, I'd put him out here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Cornerbacks don't necessarily. I remember one of the best games I ever played for Offaly, I didn't get the ball in my hand in the whole game.
Well, see, that's the thing. A lot of time, a man marker is a guy that, right, we don't want to have our hurler man marking because then that negates his abilities. We want to get someone who's a jobber, you being Case.
Jobber, lovely.
No, I'd be considered a jobber as well, so I would have over the years, and again, that's just a club level, be given the same job. If you saw the Tipperary against Clare league game this year, Adam Flynn was actually put out as a man marker on Tony Kelly, who was playing anywhere he wanted between half forward line and half back line. He often even likes to sweep up here. He just followed him absolutely everywhere.
That's fair enough though, yeah.
Liam Sheedy has obviously identified him as that kind of guy.
And Alan Flynn's a real athlete that could do that, you know what I mean?
He's got pace. And then Colin Galvin came on at the start of the second half. He was kind of playing around that area, base of midfield, playing in that direction. And as soon as Tony Kelly got sent off, whereas Alan Flynn sent, only over there, stopped their main man. So that just shows you the value of a man marker. And like you said, it might be a bit of a dying art, but I think the likes of Matty Kenny is definitely going to utilise it this year.
It's hard, like
Sheedy's going to do it.
Yeah, you're nailing down a couple of their best players. You're giving yourself a really good chance if you can kind of nullify their best players. And I know a lot of people said about Keegan on Connolly in the football final. Keegan's such a good footballer. He's one of the rarities. He's such a good footballer. He has it all, and he can man mark.
But he scored a point from full back on Sean Kavanagh in the 2016 semi-final or quarter-final, whichever it was, and then he goes forward and scores a goal against Diarmuid Connolly as well.
But he's a dying art now, someone that can actually do it all and that has no problem in sacrificing his game for the greater good. That's a rarity.